Hi everyone, I'm Kevin Bertit, and I want to thank you for joining me for my video lecture workshop entitled We the Slave Contract People of America. First thing I need to tell you is that I'm not a lawyer, and this is not to be taken as legal advice. Anything that you use so on your own accord or your own free will. I'm not liable for that, and that's a legal disclosure or disclaimer that I have to state in order to protect myself. I hate to have to do that, but that's the way the times and things are nowadays. The next thing I want to tell you is, why am I doing this? I'm doing this because I'm tired of still hearing people say things like, you have to pay taxes, who's going to pay for the roads, who's going to pay for this, that. What do you mean we're not free people? This is America, land of the free, all of that stuff. And I'm tired of going down to these courts and dealing with these sociopathic judges yelling and screaming over nothing, over some minor moving violation or whatever, and they act like you've committed the most heinous murder crime in history or something, the way that they talk down to you. And it's just downright disrespectful. And I'm going to explain to you what they think of us later on in this video on that. But I simply want to let them know, I know who you are, what you are, where you are, what you're doing, what you've been doing, what you plan to do in the future. And it's just a stand-up for me to let these people know. And when I say these people, I'm speaking of the Illuminati, Freemasons, the international bankers, the New World Order people, whoever you want to call them, I guess. So, at any rate, that's that. The next thing I want to share with you is explaining to you that this lecture workshop is going to be broken down into parts. And I don't know how long. I'm doing this all live. It could be 3, 4, 5 hours long. I don't know. And I'm making up the titles or parts as I go and so forth. But it's going to cover quite a bit. And I know that I'm going to be talking about word meanings, U.S. citizenship versus state citizenship, Social Security, UCC code, taxes, and then of course the last part is going to deal with how to exempt yourself from paying taxes out of your paychecks and what forms you would use instead of a W-4 form, etc. So that's the way that's going to go. And I want to also tell you to please forgive me if you hear dogs barking and airplanes and loud noises and so forth. I wanted to make this video much more professional and secure, like a classroom, and have like a chalkboard or writing board behind me, what have you. I wasn't able to secure that in time, so I have to do it in my home, and you're going to hear those sounds. I apologize. Also, too, I'm going to probably butcher some words, or my throat's going to get dry and crackly and stuff, so that's going to happen. I already know it. And I'm going to try to come back and, repronounce the word in the next chapter or next part if I can, if I remember to. And also too, sometimes I get ahead of myself and I do not complete sentences. I'm aware of that, and I know that I do that. And like I said, I'm apologizing to you ahead of time about those things, and I'm going to try to correct them or stay on top of them as best I can. I'm basically a one-man unit, guys. My video quality and all that, I don't know how it's going to look. And like I said, I apologize. I won't even know till it's done, edited, and uploaded, and so forth. I do the best that I can with the little knowledge I have on this stuff. And it's much better than it was when I first started. So, bear with me on all that. Like I said, this is just a small introduction. I just want to explain to you what's going on and all of that type of stuff. Another thing is, keep in mind that some of the information that I will be sharing with you is probably, I won't say outdated, but laws, codes, and things like that change frequently, as you know. And like a lot of stuff that I have is older information. I still feel and believe that it's going to be very valuable for you to hear this, what I have, because I've never heard anyone, a couple people, but most people I don't think are aware of some of the things I'm going to share with you. And so it's still valid, but just some things that have changed in codes and the law, whatever. You can correct me. I have no problems or quorums with you doing that. And I would appreciate that you do that, because we want to try to keep on top of it always. And I want to share with you really quickly 2 things that I'm talking about that updated information. Here is the U.S. Department of Justice. You have the right to work. Don't let anyone take it away. And actually, I blew it out from this little pamphlet that they have. Back in this time, this is for your I-9 form when you first got hired. These are documents that you can use to prove both your identity and work authorization. There's a lot of stuff. I'm not going to read it all. Just the first one, which is the most important one for us, is that U.S. passport you can use, expired or unexpired. Well, that changed in April 3rd, 2009, where you can now only use an unexpired passport, because they said because of fraud and tampering. Now, I always found it kind of odd or weird why they allowed you to be able to use an expired passport at that time anyway, because that was the first thing I thought. Well, what if somebody tampers with it? It's expired, so they don't care if they, whatever. So, anyway, that's changed. In the Uniform Commercial Code, as many of you know, I've talked about a lot, UCC 1-207 has been revised to UCC 1-308. I don't know why, and that was done in 2004. I don't know why they did it. I can only speculate that people have started figuring out the UCC code and applying it to their lives, dealing with moving violations, parking tickets, loans, and etc. Writing that statement there, and therefore exercising the remedy and recourse and discharging that debt. And I'll explain all of that to you in that chapter. But what I found out about this, weird about this, is that 207 is still in effect. It's just been revised. It hasn't been taken out of the code books, or it's not invalid still. You can still use it. They just revised it to 308. I don't get it. Maybe they just wanted to see if people would catch on or something. I have no idea, but I just find it kind of weird, because it's still good. You can still use it. But, just 2 examples of stuff that, to be aware of that had been changed or updated. The next thing to say to you is this. I understand that a lot of this information I'm going to be sharing with you may be very scary for some, and I understand that. And a lot of you out there, I'm sure, have families and careers and good jobs, and you feel that this information may jeopardize that. You can't talk about it. I have my feelings on that, but that's up to you. I'm just sharing the information with you. What you do with it and so forth is up to you, but at least you're aware of it. I know that this information, I've suffered greatly from it. I've had, issues with jobs, where I've been fired and blackballed because I refused to pay the tax or use a Social Security number, which is my right. I'm all within the legal guidelines of that. And I just want a lot of these people to steal my money. And, I have battles over it. Epic battles. And it's, I don't say a lonely life, but, it's tough. It's tough. And I understand that for a lot of people, they're not willing to do that. I am. I don't have the obligations that most of you or many of you have. I don't have a wife, children, family. I don't have a high-end or good job in that sense. And, this is maybe part of the reason. Maybe I'm, here to be the one to, I won't say be sacrificed, but, to help or to get this information out there. So it is what it is. I'm just sharing that with you because I think that's very important for me to state. I also want to thank all of my now over 300 followers or subscribers on YouTube. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. And I know some of you say 300. I got 5,000. I got 50 million. I know, but for me that's a lot, and I appreciate those people because, as I always tell you guys, I'm doing this out of the sincerity of my heart. I have no hidden agenda. I'm not being paid. I'm not a part of any groups or organizations. Not saying that's a bad thing, just saying that I'm basically a one-man unit and do the best that I can with providing you the truth and the facts best as I know it. So, like I said, I really appreciate that from you. I guess that's about it. So, like I said, I'm breaking this down into the parts. so that you can, watch one part one day if you want, and another part another day. I'm just breaking it down that way because it's going to be long, lengthy, reading, and you got to pay close attention because a lot of what I'm saying is very, very important that you hear and understand what you are hearing. So with that in mind, I want to go ahead and jump right into it. I don't want to waste any more time. I don't want to say waste, but I don't want to spend any more time on this. And chapter 1, or part 1, is going to be entitled Word Definitions and Meanings. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. And stay tuned. And I'll see you